Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Skip Watts and I'm here to talk a little bit about the North Carolina countdown to college process. By the time we're done, we're going to be masters of both CFNC and the countdown to college process. So again, welcome. Thank you for being here. It is September 7th about 1:05. We're going to go ahead and get started. So again, thank you very much for being here. My name is Skip Watts. I'm a CFNC regional representative. I work out of the 828 regional area or area code. Basically, my region starts in Boone and goes down to Columbus. But I'm accompanied today by a couple of my colleagues. Amy Denton, she's the regional representative for the 252 area, kind of the eastern part of the state. And then our supervisor, Dr. April Query. You can see all our direct contact information right there. So if you want to take a quick screenshot, feel free. But we'll also pass along all regional rep information as we move forward throughout this presentation. Now, I promise that I'll give everybody all the different CFNC regional rep contact information, but we're basically your boots on the ground, so to speak. If you have any CFNC related questions or college savings questions, you're going to reach out directly to your CFNC representative that represents your area code. However, if you have questions about Finish the FAFSA, you're going to reach out directly to Kathy Hastings McDonald. You can see her email down below. And if you have Pro Tools questions, we'll talk about what exactly Pro Tools is in a second. You're going to reach out to my colleague, Constance. You can see her email down below as well. So I take just a second here to let you take a picture or make a screenshot of this contact information. And again, feel free to reach out to us with any questions or concerns as we move forward throughout the school year. Now, on the agenda today, we're going to talk about CFNC in depth. We're all going to be masters. We're going to be able to utilize every individual resource within CFNC.org. That's going to start with a quick overview and then a deep dive into each individual resource. We're also going to cover our FAFSA tools and talk about how they can benefit you as an education professional. We're also going to be masters of Countdown to College, otherwise known as C2C. We're going to be covering the Pro Tools and how we can utilize those within our profession. We're going to be talking about the C2C process from an overview perspective, and then we're going to get deep dive into all of those tools and also the planning process, both in September and in October. We're going to offer a question and answer after that, but before I move forward, I want to offer one little pro tip. If you are lucky enough to have some inclusion time with students who you think might be interested in college application week, I strongly suggest you have those students create CFNC accounts before the C2C process opens. I encourage you to do that because if they already have their CFNC account information, they can quickly roll into the college application week resources without having that extra step. And then lastly, we're going to send you a survey sometime after the completion of this presentation. You can receive some CEU credits if you complete that survey within 48 hours of receiving that initial contact. So please feel free to complete that, get those CEUs, but more importantly, we want your feedback as well. Okay, now CFNC is a resource that is statewide throughout North Carolina. You can see here that we are in English and in Spanish. Our website is completely translatable in a culturally significant manner. You can see our toll-free number there. We're basically the boots on the ground for everything college access in North Carolina. We're free as well. All of our resources are free. Just so you better understand what makes up CFNC, I want you to focus on that wheel on the right-hand corner of this slide. You can see that CFNC is comprised of several different entities, starting with the College Foundation and the community college system and the Department of Instruction, but also the independent colleges and universities across the state, the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority, otherwise known as NCSEAA, and lastly, the University of North Carolina System. All of these different organizations have something to say about what CFNC is, and that help make us what we are today. Now on CFNC, we've got a plethora of different K-12 career resources. We've got a college search feature that is really beneficial with 11 to 12th graders, but also with middle schoolers and early high schoolers. We've got college applications to all the community colleges across the state, but also links out to other application programs. Students can take advantage of those during the C2C process. We strongly encourage them to do so, but we also have an official high school transcript program through CFNC that can really benefit your students and your institution as well. We've got financial aid resources. We really want students to understand the financial aid process and maximize state and federal grant funding. We also want them to understand the student loan process. And we also have a financial literacy course designed to help them do that and just basic financial understanding. And then lastly, we have educator tools. So we have all kinds of tools that can help you do your job better and keep track of what your students are doing on CFNC. And then we have a lot of state related resources as well. So all this is free, and I encourage you to take advantage of them. If you haven't already, take advantage starting tomorrow or even later on today. Now, when you go to cfnc.org from whatever search engine you're on, this is going to be your landing page. I like to navigate CFNC through the tabs at the top of the screen, but a lot of students navigate CFNC through this carousel feature in the center of the landing page. And if you were to scroll down from this landing page, you could access other aspects of CFNC. But right now, I want to point out, if you use the tabs at the top of the screen, it's probably the most direct way for educators to take advantage of the site. Starting with the Espanol feature, which again translates this entire website into Spanish. So if you have an ESL population at your school, please know this resource is there to help. The education professional section is where students, or where educators rather, can find all kinds of relevant tools about the college application process, and also the career resources. And it's just a wonderful place to be on CFNC. We've got some FAFSA tools. We've also got a contact link and a login piece on the far right-hand corner. When you log into CFNC, that's how you'll get in. But if you haven't ever created a CFNC account, you'll create that through the login button. Now, before I move forward, the Plan Your Future side of CFNC is where you're going to find our planning resources like our college search, our financial literacy tools, and also our career-related resources. The Apply to College tab, that's where you're going to find our college applications, which we'll use during college application week. The Pay for College side of the site's a really important one to remember if you work with high school seniors. That's where they're going to find the financial aid information and our scholarship search tool. And then lastly, on the far right, that's a link over to the North Carolina 529 plan. Every state in the country has a 529 plan. It's a really effective and efficient way of saving for college. So if you perhaps have a student that may be going to college, I implore you to check out the Save for College side of the website. Okay, now as promised, I mentioned all the CFNC rep contact information will be passed along. So if you really need somebody in the 336 to assist you with CFNC, call Tequila. If you're in Charlotte or the surrounding area, you'll reach out to Tamika Ruffin. You can also see down in the bottom right-hand corner, those are our Spanish language specialists. So if you are in the eastern part of the state, you're going to reach out to Juana Hernandez Lira. If you're in the western part of the state, you're going to reach out to Dr. Juanes Ramirez. You can see that all the other reps are located on this page, including Brittany and Amy as well. So again, reach out to us if you need any assistance. Take a second to take a picture of that contact information. We want to hear from you. Okay, so let's talk some resources on CFNC, and let's take a quick poll. Okay. Seeing how many years have the educators in attendance today worked with CFNC, we have a lot of newcomers to the site. That's excellent. We want to inform you as to how you can best utilize our resources. We have some folks that have been working with CFNC for 4 to 7 years. That's amazing. And then we have a fairly significant group of educators that have 10 years plus experience with CFNC. Those of you that have 10 years plus, I want you to feel that we want you to be actively engaged in this presentation. So if you have any words of advice, feel free to post those in the chat. If you have any questions for those of you that are new to CFNC or Countdown to College, again, please feel free to post those in the chat. We'll do our best to get quick answers to you. All right, so I'm going to share these results. Again, it looks like, yeah, not much has changed. We got about 39% of the poll attendees with relatively little CFNC experience. We have about 21% in the 4 to 7 year, and then 10 plus years. Those are our CFNC masters already. They could probably do that presentation for us. About 39% of the attendees represent that population. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and minimize that poll. And thank you again. We really appreciate your feedback. We're going to pause several times throughout this presentation. And again, we encourage you to be actively engaged throughout. Now, one critical component within the CFNC.org tool chest is our dashboard. That's where students or educators can access all the information related to their usage of CFNC. So if students have saved colleges of interest, they can go back and retrieve those colleges. They can save career-related information to their dashboard. They can return to college applications that they may not have finished through their dashboard. There's also tabs for 529 usage and education professionals as well. It's a really valuable component. And if you want to access your dashboard after you create a CFNC account, you'll access it up in that upper right-hand corner of the landing page or any page within CFNC.org. Now, we encourage students at CFNC to have a plan when considering a career possibility. We want them to do that both so they can start their educational journey early and really pursue that career with vigor early, but also we want them to be able to advance through their post-secondary studies quickly and hopefully not bounce around from major to major. Hopefully we can help students identify career paths for them early in the process, say in middle or high school. Now we have all kinds of tools. I'm going to kind of dig into those in a second, but before I dig specifically into those plan tools, you can see the resources on the left-hand side of the screen. That banner is where you can access all the Plan for a Career-related resources. You can also link to different resources on the right-hand side of the screen. And again, just to reiterate, you can translate all this information into Spanish. Okay, so these are the free career assessments on CFNC. When I was a young person in the 80s and 90s, it cost $50 to take some assessment like the Myers-Briggs. Fortunately for our students and perhaps even for us as educators, we have a bunch of free assessments that could potentially equate to the same kind of information offered through the MBTI. You can see there's a plethora of different opportunities. A lot of them build upon each other, and some of them are directed towards specific target populations. For example, the interest profiler is great for middle schoolers and high schoolers, as is the career cluster survey. But the transferable skills checklist, that's a really effective resource for individuals that might be transferring or thinking about transferring from one career to another. You can also see on the right side of the screen, those are the new NC Careers components that we're offering as well. And I'll talk more about those individually as we move forward. So let's just take a second and reflect. I think you guys are probably tired of maybe hearing just me. So I'm going to extend the opportunity to talk a little bit to some of my colleagues and perhaps even you guys. So first question, have you ever taken a CFNC career assessment? I can say I have. I've taken them all pretty much. If so, what careers were you aligned with? Can you just put those in the chat for us? I'll give you a second. Oftentimes, when I complete the assessments, I get socially oriented career paths, educators, for example, nurses. I often get health career related career paths. So, what are you guys getting? Let's see it in the chat. So I'm going to drop down and open up the chat real quick. Okay, so Angie's saying she's getting a lot of social field helping kind of jobs. My colleague April always gets hospitality and tourism. She would be a great tourism guide, a great mountain guide or beach guide. In fact, she just recently got back from a crazy beach vacation. Maybe she'll expound on that in a little bit. Let's see here. David gets a lot in the education field. Amy, my colleague, also gets an educator or anything with processing numbers. I didn't know, Amy, you were really numbers oriented. I thought you were really good at editing. I knew that. So I've talked a little bit about myself. Um, let's see, April, do you want to jump in and tell me a little bit about uh, what you've received in regards to results on these different assessments?
Sure. I have been taking these assessments for 17 years now, and I almost always get the same Holland codes, right? So there's six Holland codes, and I usually get three kind of back and forth. Always my top two, social, artistic, or those are the main ones. But I always end up getting hospitality and tourism as a kind of a cluster, and I mean, that just sounds fabulous. So I was saying in the chat, my retirement job, I think, will be, tourism. I can be a travel agent, right? And I have to go to all the places first to check them out. So, but when we work with our students, it's a lot of similar. I think there's some similar characteristics with those jobs and with what we do here. So a lot of, working with people and helping when we can, and a lot of talking.
Now, unfortunately, my colleague Soretta is not with us today, but she could definitely have a career in the ministry. She is a phenomenal speaker, so I'm just going to speak for her. Amy, do you want to jump in and offer any insight into our assessments?
Yeah, over the past 16 years or more that I've taken them, 16 years with CFNC, I thought that, a long time ago after I graduated from college that one day I would be a teacher. And certainly I didn't go that pathway, but that still pops up in some of my assessments. I don't think that I'm going to change careers to now become a teacher, but nonetheless, that still pops up in anything with numbers because I love stats and numbers and working with numbers. And one of my first jobs right out of college, which had nothing to do with my major, was in accounting work. So that was interesting and I really loved it. So as I take these assessments, I find that those types of jobs pop up. There again, I have found my love of what I wish to do, and I'm not planning to change right now. So thank you for letting us add that in.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, we also have our colleague Brittany Privet on the chat. I envision Brittany as possibly being like, I don't know, the president of the United States or something like that. Brittany, have you taken any of these assessments? Any insight?
That is hilarious, Skip, and I'm glad I have your vote. So thank you so much for that. But I think I would definitely, mine usually come up as education. I come from an education family, so it's kind of in the blood at this point. So yeah, education is definitely up there. I do like politics, but that's usually not one of my results. But thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thanks for jumping in, everybody. And thank you guys for your insight, for again being engaged. The more we can get from you, the more we can offer. So just quickly, I've got a couple more slides. I want to talk about the career tools that we offer through NC Careers. Many of you, especially those of you that have 10 plus years on CFNC, know that we recently have partnered with NC Careers so that we can offer students and educators the most precise and up-to-date career-related information. So when you take an assessment on CFNC, your assessment results will be linked over to NC Careers, where again, you can find the most accurate demographic information about North Carolina specific careers. This almost looks like my assessment results. If I were to take the interest finder on CFNC and I completed the assessment, you're going to get some Holland code results. I usually test out as strong in the social, strong in the artistic, and the investigative. Again, oftentimes that relates you to more touchy-feely educator-related jobs or healthcare-related. Everybody's a little different, but the more time you spend with these programs, the more thought you put into them, oftentimes the more accurate the results are. And if we get students to really take advantage of these early, I think it can benefit both the student and the families in the long run. Now, once you find an occupation, or excuse me, once you receive those Holland codes for this instance, you're going to receive several different job suggestions. You can see here, I've got a self-enrichment education teacher, a cosmetologist, a recreation worker, which sounds really fun for me. And then down at the bottom, a public relations specialist. Students or any individual that takes advantage of these resources can then see the minimum annual wage rate, the annual growth rate, and the average annual openings. If they choose to click on that public relations specialist, they can find even more information. So here we go. Here's a PR specialist. I have trouble saying public relations. I'm just going to say PR specialist. You can see their average median rate of pay. You can see their entry rate of pay. You can see the experience pay rate is dynamically more actually than the entry rate of pay. You can see job openings again, the number of jobs in North Carolina and nationally. You can see what kind of education's required to get into that career field. You can see what the workplace is like and the top skills and abilities associated with that specific career path. Now, once a student has identified that career path, they're blessed, okay? From here, we can start to identify colleges in North Carolina or perhaps nationally that have their program study. I specifically like that college search feature, which I'm going to dive into in just a second. Okay, so here's the college search. If a student knows they want to go into public relations or PR work, they can use the filters on the left-hand side of the screen. For example, they could drop down the academics field and they can find a field probably in communications, and then from there find specific schools in North Carolina that have those programs of study. You can see here in this specific slide, we haven't put any search parameters into that. So right now we're just getting an alphabetical listing of all the different schools across the state. You can see Alamance Community College is at the top of the list. You can see how much in-state tuition is, out-of-state tuition, how many students are there. And I think down below, I think that's Appalachian State, my alma mater. Not call out to Appalachian, just pointing out that's the next school. But I will call out Barton College, which my colleague Amy Denton used to work at. If a student maybe found that Barton College had a communications program with a PR school, and they were really excited about Barton because Barton's really close to Wilson, which has some of the best barbecue in the country, in my opinion. Well, then they could dive into all the specifics associated with Barton. For example, they can find admissions information to see how selective Barton is and whether or not they fit into that. They can see what academic programs of study Barton has, how much it costs, and what kind of financial aid opportunities exist. They can see what student life is like on campus. There's information for transfer students and students with learning disabilities. There's also campus videos and photos. And if they drill down through all that information and they're still really excited about Barton, well, then they can apply through CFNC.org. Now, let's talk a little bit about student enrichment programs. Before we do that, I'm going to turn this over to my colleague and former Barton employee, Amy Denton. Amy, thanks for being here. I'm going to let this poll be yours.
All right. Thank you, Skip. So we're going to pick up with this poll about student enrichment programs. Have you ever used this particular tool on CFNC before? If you're not familiar with the tool, as you're answering your questions, I will share that it's a great way for students and parents alike to come to this particular piece of our site to search for programs, summer programs, typically workshops and any other type of fun activity held on college campuses in our state. Maybe it's going to be designed toward their major, or maybe it's going to be designed to what college is located in their back door. So it's a great way to find out how students can be involved, maybe at an earlier age, that's guiding them into their particular program or their major that they're thinking about one day pursuing after high school. So it looks like we have a handful that says yes. A good portion of the participants today say no, they've not used this yet and didn't know it was there. So wonderful. I'm glad that we're digging a little bit deeper into it so that you can find out more information about it. Let me close this out, and I will point out here on the screen, this small section of the site, you'll see the snapshot of what it would look like. We will highlight each one of the camps, each one of the programs, and some key information about it. If there is a cost to the program, a further link to go out for more details or to register, and then you can certainly do your search based on your area of interest, your grade level, maybe how close or how far it is from where you live, and other information regarding scholarship opportunities. And again, specifically, maybe if you're looking at the institution to attend to a specific institution. So take advantage of this. This is under that section that Skip just talked about, the plan for college, which is under plan for your future. Other great resources under that college planning section that you see here on the left, the plan for college. We have explore programs and majors. Now, this is tied in very similar to NC Careers, where we list the career clusters, all 16 of them. So a student can search for a specific program or a major, or very generally begin with their career cluster. Maybe they've taken the career cluster survey and they know where they belong, one or two or three options that they belong. If they find a particular program that they're interested in, and the one here on the screen is the acupuncture, they can then find out which schools in North Carolina offer that program. Now, we'll make sure I point out here that it is the responsibility of the colleges to update their profile data that Skip talked about in the college search, including all of their major information. It's a disservice to students in our state if they do not update their majors and their programs. So this is directly driven by college information and the way they create and update their profile. So explore programs and majors is a great way to tie in their academic interest with specific colleges in North Carolina. And some other great information coming on down the side there on the left, the students with no fixed address. So this is a great opportunity where students can reach out to what we call their single points of contact, the SPOC, SPOC, on their college campus. There is an individual on every college campus in our state. All 111 that we have in our college search has identified someone on their campus to be the go-to, the point person to find out information for homeless and transitional youth or displaced youth about admissions, financial aid, academic advising. This can be very overwhelming for these students, and they don't know already where to go to get the help, and they feel like sometimes they're being pulled in multiple directions. But having this one person to guide them through all the various resources and information, we can do that. You know, we've got other North Carolina resources here on this particular part of the site. Information about the NC Promise, the UNC Promise, the commitment through the UNC system schools to lower their tuition or lock into their tuition rates, scholarships, other national resources, and of course, links out to the FAFSA. So take advantage of this point of the website and direct your students to this point. And of course, applying to college, we're going to move on over to the apply to college section of the website. And coming up, countdown to college, we know October is going to be a huge month for your students, and specifically college application week, October 16th through the 20th. And we cannot highlight, we cannot scream loud enough to everyone in our state. Students must begin and or return to CFNC.org if they have started their applications for admissions, and it indeed will be one of the colleges waiving the fees. They must be on CFNC for that fee to be waived. They cannot go out to the college portal page. They cannot go out to Common App. They cannot go out to any other applications platform and automatically expect that fee to be waived. Those colleges in our state that we will announce to you and post on our website on October the 1st of those waiving the fees, students must start on CFNC in order to do that, okay? And we'll go to the next slide. And this is kind of what it looks like under that application hub. When students go there, that gives them the option in their own personalized hub. And remember, they must be logged in with their CFNC account in order to access college applications, completing them, and access transcripts. They pick the university they want or college they want to apply to and select their undergraduate application for most of your students, of course, that's what they're going to be selecting. We do have a few colleges on our site that have chosen to offer other forms of applications, be it their grad school or their career and college promise applications for our community colleges. But the main thing here, remember, they must be on cfnc.org and must be logged in. Here's what an example of an application looks like. This is Blue Ridge Community College. Very fortunately, all 58 community colleges in our state offer their application on CFNC for free. And just to make sure you understand, we are the umbrella, that we are the platform to house any college in our state, their application on our site for free. We do not charge them. Many other platforms do. We are the platform in our state that offers these colleges, because we serve them and they help us, we offer them the place to house their application at no charge. This is what it looks like. They'll see all the options on the left-hand side of the screen, their name and address, all the way down to their student statement, if that's a requirement. And each section, as they complete it, will be presented with a checkbox. Every one of those little circles will be presented with a checkbox. So when they're ready to submit, they'll see that they have completed their application. And again, must have a CFNC account in order to do this. I mentioned the transcripts just a moment ago. All public high schools in our state that are a part of the Power School system, that are DPI, Department of Public Instruction schools, will have the option to send transcripts through CFNC to colleges. We do not house the transcripts on CFI servers. They're housed at DPI. We're the ones that just provide the avenue for them to select the option to send the transcript, and then DPI grabs them and delivers them. We're just the method in which they request it. So the students have the option to come to their application hub and request up to 5 institutions at one time to send their transcripts. So if they've applied to multiple institutions, they can select 5 at a time, the colleges, in order to send their transcripts. It's not automatic. They have to make sure, this screenshot here that's got some red boxes highlighted, there are 6 pieces of data that are key to make sure students are able to request their transcripts successfully: their name, their birth date, and email, and indeed their school that they are attached to. That's why it's very important that you make sure your students are attached to your current school. If they were a transfer from another school in the county or another school outside of the county, make sure they have updated their CFNC profile so that they will be able to successfully request transcripts. And very fortunately, with the dashboard that I think Skip mentioned earlier, many components of what students have been doing on CFNC can be saved to their dashboard, their snapshot of what they've done. So here under the first tab, the My College Plan, they will be able to see very quickly where they have sent their transcripts and the status of those transcripts. The same they can do under the Application Hub. They can see where applications have been sent, and they can see where they requested their transcripts to be delivered, and actually see the status. It's the responsibility of the colleges on the back end of their portals to upload or download CFNC apps and transcripts, and other things like their saved programs and majors, their saved colleges. Maybe it's their favorite colleges. Maybe they did that college search and they found out that there are 5 or 6 colleges that they have a really strong interest in. And they leave the site and maybe come back in October, countdown to college, and they're ready to apply. And they want to apply to those colleges. The snapshot of them will be saved under their dashboard, where they actually can begin the application process from their dashboard. Okay. And the scholarship search, very similar to the college search. We list options for filters. There's not a ton of scholarships here. We on average have anywhere from 110 to 120. I think right now we have about 115 sitting out there. Scholarships attached to a North Carolina connection. And of course, we're very limited in criteria in what we can put on our website. So it does not hurt and it will not take a long time for students to scroll through all of the scholarship options and read the criteria to see if they're interested in perhaps pursuing that scholarship. They'll quickly find out if they meet the eligibility requirements, and it will tell them what the dollar amount of the scholarship is, when the deadline may be, a specific date, or for example, if it's a rolling deadline. And they'll always have live links to go out to find more details about the scholarship and perhaps actually complete an application. On the left, again, like the college search, there are filters. They can search by their county, they can search by other particular criteria to narrow down their scholarship options, maybe by a particular academic interest. Okay, so make sure your students are using that. We know financial literacy is huge in our state. We know there have been major changes with curriculum over this past year that students will now have to get adjusted to, as well as teachers in the classroom. We have had for many years on our website a financial literacy tool called Financial Basics for high school and beyond. So we offer it to all ages of high school students and first-year college students. The content is designed for those groups of students. 15 topics. There are many topics. Topics like understanding mortgages, loans, rent, whatever it may be that we think students will need to know as they move on to an independent lifestyle. Topics and information that will be helpful for them to learn how to manage their money better. Every topic takes less than 15 minutes to complete. Some may only take 5 or 6 minutes. And we will ask a couple of questions with each topic. And there's an opportunity for a scholarship. So as students complete the course topics, and they can at random pick whichever ones they choose to complete from one to the next to the next. If they can complete the entire course with a completion score of 80% or better, they are automatically entered for a scholarship drawing. Every spring, we will pick 2 winners for $500 for the Financial Basics Scholarship. And the content here is modeled after economics and personal finance, so it does meet their objectives. A shortcut to get to it would be cfnc.org/financial basics, as April shared there in the chat. So let's talk about move from a little bit of the site and specific tools. We're going to highlight some more directly related for you, but how are the ways that we support educators at CFNC? All of the regional reps, the 2 Spanish services representatives, we're here to make sure we can guide you through getting your Pro Tools set up. Pro Tools, if you're new to this webinar today, is simply the way on the back end of CFNC, as I call it, for you to be able to track things like their career assessments, their application and transcript submissions, if they've submitted the FAFSA, if they've done RDS. We don't provide you with very specific personal data. We would never do that, but we will give you an option for yes or no. We'll show you that in just a few moments. Education Professionals Month. We're going to give you a lot of detail about that. And we're very fortunate that all of the reps are prepared and trained to meet with you on a district level, individual school meetings, to share any information about CFNC that can guide you better to help your students and your families. So we're here for you. Okay. And April is right. We've got another poll for you to take here. So let's answer this question. Have you worked with your CFNC rep or your statewide Spanish services rep in the past on any of these topics here? Financial aid, FAFSA completion, college apps, a CFNC review, financial literacy. What have we helped you with across the state? And we'll give you a moment to answer some of these questions. We have tons of resources on our website for you. We know that over the years, so much of our website has specifically been designed directly for students and families, but we have added the educational professionals section of our site to make sure that you know where to go to very quickly to get information. So it looks like a lot of you are saying that we've helped with financial aid presentations specifically. And you're right, 'tis the season. It's the fall. And other types of FAFSA completion workshops. So good information to know. It looks like the CFNC, an overview, similar to what we're doing today, we've been able to provide for you with your students and families. So good to know. So good information to take back, April, I think, with the work that we're doing across the state. So thank you all for answering those questions. All right. One of the important parts of that educational professionals link is the training materials. So one part of the training materials is the option for you to go out to find the resources, the printed resources that we could provide for you directly on the site for you to download and print at your own capability, or ones that we can ship to you if we have an inventory in our Raleigh office. So those will be marked with the check mark, available to order. So make sure you're checking those out under the educational professionals link, specifically the training materials link on the left-hand side of the nav bar there. Okay. Other resources, anything FAFSA related. Gosh, we can't say it enough. You know, we're very fortunate to be able to offer a FAFSA hub now. That'll come in more details to you down the road. That's brand new to our site. Widgets on our campus. We're able to share that with you to be able to post on your web pages information regarding test prep, CFNC, financial aid, any of those widgets. Go out to grab those and put on your school websites or your counseling pages. A list of e-transcript schools. You know, right now we can only offer that for public schools in our state. So sometimes though we have new charter schools coming about, you may belong to one of those. If you're not sure if your school is on the e-transcript list, go out to this particular link to see if you're listed there. If not, reach out to your regional rep and we'll be glad to help you. We'll share with you under the resources here, the single points of contact, the list of all those persons at each college campus designed for you to reach out to help your homeless or transitional students. The admissions deadlines document, that's now gone live just in the past week or two. So every institution in the state, we've done homework for you. We've done homework for your students. And we specifically point out any type of deadlines, admissions, scholarship, and their visitation dates. So go out and grab that document and share it to your web pages too, where your students can gather the information. Lots of helpful information there. All right, I'm going to finalize my section of the presentation today with offering some FAFSA tools. And let's talk about those resources that you have in your back pocket that you can track your students. The top of the page, just above the Pay for College section, there's this link. You may not have seen it in the past 2 months or so. It's called FAFSA Tools. It's new, fairly new to our site. And I'll show you what you can access by going to FAFSA Tools. You can find out information about the FAFSA tracker. That's fairly new to our site. We brought that over from My Future NC, and we own that now on CFNC, and to finish the FAFSA access. So I think a slide next will show you, in addition to other resources about FAFSA, the difference between the two, FAFSA tracker and finish the FAFSA, is this. The FAFSA tracker, as you'll see right here on your screen, will present to you based on a district. And in your district, we will highlight each of your schools and how many seniors there are and how many have submitted and completed the FAFSA and their completion rate. We're very excited for the 22-23 school year and the FAFSA completion. We're now up to 60% in our state. That's better than where we were last year at this time. And we know that we have to give you the credit for that. We know that you've been working hard to help us and our State Education Assistance Authority partnership to increase your FAFSA completion numbers in your state. We know the more students that complete the FAFSA, have a greater chance of going to college. And when I say college, that may mean 2-year, 4-year degree, or a certificate, diploma, or some sort of credential that requires FAFSA and eligibility for federal and state aid. So we thank you for supporting your students and families in getting that FAFSA completed. We hope that we will finish out the year, by the way, with about 63, 64%, which would put us above last year at this time, almost 6%. So again, thank you for your efforts. Go out to use the FAFSA tracker. Now let's move from just numbers to actually looking at students by name. The Finish the FAFSA report will give you that information. If you have Pro Tools access, you may already have finished the FAFSA access because you've asked for it. If you have not, you can reach out on the FAFSA tools where I just showed you and click on the school counselor link, and it will tell you how you can get finish the FAFSA access. We're not going to show you the names of the students in this particular screenshot right here. We block those out, but we do tell you the status, and this is what it's going to look like for you based on your high school seniors. Who has completed or who has not submitted, and maybe who has submitted, but certainly it's been flagged for some sort of error, maybe, or flagged for verification. We'll tell you that information. We'll even tell you the code and what that code means. We'll tell you now by date when your student submitted the FAFSA. We've added several more features to this report just in the past couple of weeks that if you have not gone out to look at it yet, you'll see it the first time you access your report for your seniors. Reach out to outreach at ncscaa.edu if you have questions about the Finish the FAFSA database and how to use it, or if you're having any errors, whatever it may be, they can help you. Or if you come through your regional rep, we'll make sure that SCAA will respond to you and your needs. Okay. And the last slide that I'm going to be sharing today is specifically about CFNC and in Spanish. At the top of the page of cfnc.org, to the left of the Educational Professionals link, you have the option, students and families have the option to convert our website into Spanish. So, Espanol, the link is there, and it will present to you the option to convert when you're ready. So feel welcome anytime to make sure you're sharing this with your Spanish speaking, Spanish reading populations if this is what they desire. Okay. So April, I think I'm going to turn it over to you to talk specifically about Countdown to College now.
Yes, thank you so much, Emmy. Such good information. And if you have not been paying attention to the chat, I would encourage you to do so just because there's been some good conversation. We put some links in there. So lots of good stuff in the chat. Feel free to continue sending your questions over in chat or Q&A if you'd rather it be private. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Pro Tools in a little bit more depth, and then we are going to talk more about C2C and College Application Week in depth. So CFNC Pro Tools. Week 3 of this month in September, we have 2 programs happening in relation to Pro Tools. The Tuesday of that week will be Pro Tools Basics, basic information. And then the second program for week 3 in September will happen on Thursday, and it will be a Pro Tools working session. So highly encourage you to register for the working session, especially if you want to have a refresher or beef up some of your resources and your knowledge base for Pro Tools before College Application Week. Also highly encourage you to go on and make sure that you have a Pro Tools account and that you have logged in so that you are ready to go for that working session so you can do some work live in your own account. So if you don't have Pro Tools access, this slide tells you about submitting a request. So getting Pro Tools access is a 2-step process. Sometimes folks do step 1 and then don't continue on to step 2. and you need to make sure you do both steps, okay? So step one is ensuring that your CFNC account, so your basic CFNC account, is tied to your official school or organization email address, okay? So like if you have a personal Gmail or Yahoo address, that's not the one you're going to connect to this. You're going to connect it to your email address with your school system or your specific organization. So that's step one. Step two is you have to fill out an online request form. And I have a little snapshot of what that looks like up here. And so you'll need to submit that request, providing a little bit of information. So that's your two-step process. It can take up to 2 weeks. Constance Hollingsworth Pierce is your contact, which you'll get this PowerPoint and presentation, but her information was on an earlier slide. But she can help answer questions related to that, or you can always send an email to cfnc@northcarolina.edu, and I'll throw that over in the chat also. So cfnc@northcarolina.edu, and that's kind of more of a general inbox, and they can help with your questions related to Pro Tools. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's in Pro Tools. Okay, so I'm not going to focus too much on Pro Tools during this program today, because we do have a focus on Pro Tools during week 3. So if you're thinking, well, this looks kind of neat, what else can I do with this? Highly encourage you to attend that Tuesday's program, which is week 3 for Education Professionals Month. And you can access all events that we have, including ones for that week. I just put in the chat, cfnc.org/events. Okay, so in Pro Tools, I have a bunch of things cut and pasted in here for everyone to look at. So once you logged in, you're going to see a list of things on the left-hand side, the left nav bar. So you've got your dashboard. Students and groups is where you can make groups for students that you are specifically working with, or that they're the students you want to see their data. How is it you see their data? When students make a CFNC account initially, they list what school they attend, and that aligns it to that school's Pro Tools account. And so it enables you to be able to see it. So if you are working with Joe Schmo and you're saying, I don't see you in here, you're not listed. Joe Schmo should probably go into his CFNC account and make sure that that correct high school is listed. They might not have changed schools in their CFNC account since middle school, or they could have gone to, they might be a transfer over to you. So make sure that they have your school listed under their account. Okay. So you can create student groups. So perhaps you only want to see seniors. You only want to see a certain section of the seniors. So you can create a group for that, so that when you run reports, it's specifically based off from that group. You can also, underneath college reports, this is a big one that educators use during and then shortly after college application week, to see where your students are applying. Also, another big piece that would be helpful for you all in here is application progress. So during college application week, we will have certain schools that opt to, in North Carolina colleges, they will waive their application fees. So if you have some students that are applying to those institutions that are only free to apply to that week, and here it is Thursday, and you run a application progress report, and you can see that 14 students haven't finished, a good time to send that reminder out to them to say, remember, this college is only free through 11:59 p.m. on Friday. So you might want to go ahead and finish that application. You can also run reports on Finish the FAFSA, which that is going to be when we have our Pro Tools working session in 2 weeks from today, actually. We will have a breakout room specifically on Finish the FAFSA reporting questions. So that will be a good one to join. You can run reports on RDS completion, transcript tracking, where your students sending their transcripts to. Under career reports, I have broken that out over to the left. You can run reports on all of those different assessments that they're doing. You can do a custom report specifically for what you're looking for. And then down at the bottom, I have broken down the administration piece, which is so helpful. This is where you can work through bulk account creation, a FAFSA statistics, a school admin report, usage report, all kinds of good stuff in there. So if you want more information about Pro Tools, highly encourage you to look at attending week 3. Okay. All right, so let's dig into more specific information on C2C so that you all can also call yourselves masters of Countdown to College and College Application Week. So one, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with what Countdown to College is. Okay, so Countdown to College is essentially a concerted focus throughout North Carolina to make sure that students have help doing at least one college application. So we started this program as a pilot in 2005 and then expanded it just a bit in 2006. That's the year I came aboard. So I remember the year we had those 15 Gear Up high schools. And the goal was really to have an organized way for us to work with our high schools and our colleges to provide volunteers in the classroom, media center, wherever it might be, and just be right there to help students, work on those college applications. Not all of our students, as you know, have got folks at home that can help with that. Even if they want to, it might be a first gen college student and a parent wants to help, but they've never filled out a college application. And so it's helpful to have time in the classroom for students to come in and work on that application, get questions answered from you, from their college advisor, from CFNC reps, from their local college admissions offices. And so it's just a really good way to get that help. Originally, it was definitely geared more towards those first gen students, but over the years it has grown, right? So College Application Week, a lot of our colleges waive their fees during that week. That list will be released on October 1st, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And so in 2017, we started this as a month-long initiative, and it became Countdown to College. And then College Application Week is a piece of C2C, or Countdown to College. And the goal with Countdown to College is to expand and talk about the three main areas of college enrollment for students in North Carolina. One is residency, okay, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Two is the FAFSA form, which again, we'll talk about in a few minutes, and then that application for admissions. So we focus on all of these things throughout October. And if you go to cfnc.org/C2C, which Brittany has put in the chat, you're gonna find a wealth of resources in there about each of these topics. And there's a section specifically for schools, and then a section for students. So lots of good information there. And as Amy mentioned before, College Application Week will be held October 16th through the 20th, and it will go through 11:59 p.m. on the 20th. However, that doesn't mean that we necessarily have technical assistance available at 11:59 p.m. Friday. So we encourage students to submit those applications, of course, before then, and just kind of go from there. I did want to reiterate once again that students need to start on cfnc.org for College Application Week. This is a college application, College Foundation North Carolina CFNC program effort. And so students do need to start on CFNC, and if we do take them off to a different website to complete that application per the college's request, they do need to remember to come back for the next application, come back to CFNC. It's the only way that we can really guarantee that for those schools waiving fees that they are heading to the application process, which normally stays on CFNC, but sometimes there might be an application process that takes you to different sites. So remember that, okay? All right, so I just wanted to give a slide really quick on some program examples for September, just some things to throw out there. If you are relatively new to hosting C2C, or maybe you've done it for a while and you're looking for some refresher options, which happens to all of us that have been doing the same thing for a long time. It's always nice to get some fresh ideas and stuff. If you have any other ideas than what I'll talk about briefly for September and October, please feel free to throw them over in the chat. You all are the experts, especially those of you that have done this for a while in your schools. As we know, programming within our schools, it depends on our schools and what works for our students and our families. It is definitely not a one-size-fits-all endeavor, right? So for September, just a few things to kind of throw out there if you're thinking, how can I work on preparing for some of this stuff this month so that it isn't all just coming down on me in October? Okay, so a couple things. One is obviously register your site. So if you're on today, you probably have already registered your site as a C2C site. So start with registering if for some reason you haven't. That does a few things. One is it gives us data, right, to know how many schools and organizations are registering as sites each year. So we need that data. But on top of that, for you all, it will get you stickers, especially I believe we have a soft deadline of September 25th on the site. You'll see when you go to register at cfnc.org/C2C, because we just want to say we can't promise you'll get stickers if you register after the 25th. We will still be mailing them out, but you know, things happen when they get mailed. So try and register sooner rather than later. You'll get stickers, you'll get notifications. We've got newsletters that we've beefed up this year that are going out to you all, to site coordinators weekly, that highlight a few different things. They might highlight something new that's happening, or an idea that you could do is from our lesson plans for the month of October. So excellent. You'll also get on October 1st, you will get an email, right away that morning that shows the list of colleges that have opted to waive their fees for college application week. So it's just a great way to stay in communication. You'll get technology stuff, updates and all that. So register. So other things you might want to do, you might want to think about your college application week structure. For some of our schools, it works for you to host college application week every day that week in a computer lab or media center. Other schools, it works best if you host it a day or two during the week. Some schools require all seniors to come down, and even if they were not planning on enrolling in post-secondary education, get that community college application done. It's free. They might change their mind. You can take classes over the summer. Just wanting to make sure that all of our students are picking one of those E's, right? Are they enrolling? Are they enlisting? Are they going straight into employment? Even if they are going straight into employment, do they need to take some sort of certificate work at their community college? They need to do their application. Reserve your space, share C2C plans with teachers and staff. So we have a resource on the C2C site, but you guys can make it up. It's easy, and yourself too. Just a printout that says I attended, and then you can pass it out to all of your staff members at your school and let them write down where they attended, and just kind of put it on the outside of their door. You may have a day where they wear, their alma mater, attire, just any ways to kind of beef up some excitement around your school for the month of October. I would highly encourage you, if you're thinking, I only have time for one activity in September, just tell me one thing to do. Make sure all of your seniors have CFNC accounts, okay? And make sure that they remember their login. That's the other thing. Whenever we're in a classroom and we say, how many of you have a CFNC account? Almost everyone will raise their hand. And we'll say, how many of you remember your login? And then you get half of it. So make sure they know how to log in. So when they come in to do those applications the week of October 16th, they don't have to go through that process first. And it's a great one to have done before. You might want to go on to ncresidency.org and look at some of the RDS information and send that information home. As I said, residency is a huge piece of Countdown to College to us, because all of our community colleges require residency to be completed prior to submitting their application. So when students complete residency, they will get what's called an RCN, Residency Certification Number, and those community college applications ask for that RCN. It's required before they can submit their application. And so that's a big piece that they need to realize. It is extremely important. It is how students are applying for in-state tuition. Big difference there, right, with the in-state versus out-of-state tuition. And it is also how they their initial first step to try to apply for North Carolina state grants, which of course they'll do the FAFSA for. But they have to show that they're in state to even be eligible for that possibly. And so RDS is a huge piece of the admissions process. And as many of you probably know already, this year with better FAFSA, the FAFSA form is not opening October 1st as it usually does. It won't be opening until sometime in December. We don't have the date yet, but once we do, we'll certainly have it all over our website. But you might also think, okay, well, if I'm not doing a FAFSA completion event, right now or in October, what should I do? Well, you've got the option of holding RDS completion and FSA ID nights or days, or whatever we might do. So families can come in, because residency is based on where parents live, not where students live. So families can possibly come in and complete RDS together and get their FSA IDs so that they're ready come, December, January, February, when you're holding those FAFSA completion events. Okay. So lots of great stuff you can do on here. And definitely start spreading the word about C2C to your students and what activities you're going to have coming up in October. Okay, so just some fun things. October, I want to go ahead and share the last poll that we have for today. And so if you will just take a look at your screen, and I know there's some more questions coming over in the chat, and we've got some excellent, friends on that are helping you go through it. So they are responding. So best practice that you have done for Countdown to College or College Application Week in previous years. And I just threw some examples in here. You might have something totally different. Put it in the chat. But some things that we've seen done before, maybe you just are holding it on multiple days at your school so different students can, partake, even if it's just 2 different days. Maybe you've held programs at your school. Perhaps you've gotten donations for prizes. A lot of times your local colleges, or maybe not even local colleges, somewhere in North Carolina, will send you some goodies for prizes if you want to do that with your students. You might consider holding Spanish language nights. So Amy mentioned before that our website's fully translatable into Spanish. We also have Juana and Juanes, which you saw on a slide that Skip had, who are statewide Spanish service reps that do, handle each side of the state. They are phenomenal and get booked up very early, but they are available to do Spanish language nights. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and I'm going to share the results with everyone. There we go. Get a little smaller on my screen. Okay, so it looks like the majority of folks on here made sure that students had CFNC accounts prior to college application week. Amen. Good job. That's great. It's a good thing off from, your stress, right? Send home information on RDS. Again, fabulous. Let's make sure those parents know what it is. So when Joe Schmo calls them, right, and says, Mom, Dad, grown up, whoever you are, I need this information. And they're saying, what do you need that for? Well, remember, we sent home that RDS information last week, right? So some great ideas on here. There might be some things that, are on here that you have done and haven't done. You can use Pro Tools. You can do all kinds of good stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing. If you have any other ideas, you are welcome to throw them in the chat. And I have just, just a couple examples here of things you might want to do in October. There are things maybe you've already done or haven't done yet. So remember that on cfnc.org/C2C, we have resources available in English and in Spanish. Lots of resources on there. Okay. Make sure your students have their CFNC accounts. You might want to go ahead and, have them work through some of those assessments that Skip talked about earlier, maybe the interest profiler, and see what they're geared towards. Because we tend to see one of 2 things in the classroom, right, for college application week. Either they come in, they know the career they're looking for, they've perhaps done some research already to know which colleges offer that, and then cross-check that with who's waiving their fees that week. Okay, so we have some students that have done all that. They come in and they know college 1 and 2 offer this major, and this is what I want to do. I'm applying to those schools today. Boom, boom, done. We have other students who come in, of course, and say, I think I know what career I want, but I don't really know who offers it. That's another activity you can do. So that explore programs and majors piece that either Skip or Amy showed earlier on CFNC, it's a great way to dig into some research to see who offers what. Where am I applying? Okay, so they could do that in advance. Or we have the students that come in and say, I don't know. I'm just here. I'm here. And then they get handed a list of those colleges waiving fees that week, and they just start applying to them. And so it's really helpful if they have done a little research before, maybe done a career assessment, maybe, cross-check that with, what colleges in North Carolina offer that as a program, just so that they, have some guidance as they come in and know where they want to apply. Okay, so just some fun things they can do. It's always helpful to let students know that December, the FAFSA form is going to open. We do not know when yet, but it will open in December this year. And then next year, they need to remember that it's going to open October 1 after that, from what we understand from the Department of Education. Okay. And then the other thing I'll mention on this slide here is that if you go to cfnc.org/events, I would encourage your students to go there, because that's where we're going to offer information on our virtual career fair that we will hold October 5th. From 3:30 to 5, we will have a panel of experts talking health and animal science programs. And then we have some other events happening throughout October to just help support students as they work through applications and understanding paying for college. So some really great resources there for them to look at. Okay, so I'm not really going to go over these because if you were on Tuesday, we went through these, and also don't want to overwhelm folks with stuff you can do. But this will be on the PowerPoint we send out and on the recording. So if you want to look at it, you can. We just have some very specific things that you could do if you want to, with links for each week in October, just if that's what you're looking for. Just something real simple that you can go through, handouts, just some different activities for each week during the month. Okay. Let's talk about that site coordinator handbook for a couple minutes, and then we'll be almost finished. I'd say we probably have 5 or 6 minutes left. Feel free to throw your questions over in the chat. If you have something that you want to be a little more private, you can throw it in Q&A, and we'll look through those and talk about that in just a few minutes. Okay, so also on cfnc.org/C2C, you will, as a school, you will find the C2C site coordinator handbook. Okay. When I hear handbook, sometimes I think, oh, that's probably a 50-page thing and a spiral bound. I don't know about reading all that. Well, our handbook has been shortened. I try and shorten it a little more every year. And there really is some good information in there for you to look at. So I just wanted to highlight the main sections of this for you to use. Just good resources as you consider, being a site. One, identify a site coordinator. It's probably you. Make sure your site's registered. We have a link with technology information that has now been updated as of last week for 2023 October. So take a look, make sure that students can get on the sites they need to get on before college application week. You can, there's information in the handbook about planning your events and promoting your events. We do also have, which I believe it's going to go live on our site next week. It's about finished. We have a social media toolkit that will be available for you to use if you, just simply are thinking, I'd like to put this stuff out there, but I don't have the time to create this stuff. And we have it created for you. And that should be on our site next week. Maybe you have some fun things coming up at your school that you're excited about the month of October, and you'd like the press to know about it. Right? Come to spread the good news, right? That you and your school or your site, your organization has got some really great stuff going on for the month of October. Think about sharing that with a press release. Okay. All right, so a few activities from the handbook. So once you go down to maybe 4 pages into the handbook, it's not very long. I think it's 9 pages, and the last 3 pages are just examples of letters you can send out to families to let them know what's going on in English and in Spanish. So I think maybe pages 4 and 5 are the activities. Okay, and these are just select activities that we thought would be, again, here are some things you can do. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. We know you guys are super busy. So we just want to be able to hand you over some activities if that's helpful for you. And then you can just go with it. Okay. So just an example of a few activities, this slide and the next slide, I just pulled out some stuff that's in the handbook. We talk about, which a lot of our students have done these already, but if they haven't, we talk about creating those vision boards early in October, get thinking about the future and getting excited with what's coming up. We recommend having your students watch this super short video on RDS. I think it's 4 minutes, something like that. You can show it somehow at your school just so they kind of have an idea of what to expect and why they're doing it. If you want to involve underclassmen in Countdown to College, you can always have them complete the practice application. Okay, so that's an option for our students. And then I have this activity on there, which is one of my favorite activities that we have. It's called Who Would You Admit? And this is an activity that's similar to what admissions groups will do sometimes in the classroom too. The idea is to get the students thinking, kind of turn it all around, right? So now you are the admissions representative at an institution, and you've got 3 students left that you're looking at, and you've got space for 2. Who are you going to pick, Kim, Juan, or Terry, and why? So it gives a little bit of a scenario, and it gets students thinking about just outside of the box for admissions. So it's a fun one. A couple other things that I just pulled out for examples. There is College Board, which I'm sure you know through the Big Future program. They have a lot of wonderful resources, free resources for families. And they have a resource, a webinar actually that's on there that's recorded originally for parents, but it talks about comparing financial aid award letters or offer letters. And so that's a good one too, especially as we get to, March and April, especially March, and they start getting those offer letters, what's on them, what can I expect, how do I compare these, all that fun stuff. And then we have a resource that's, your students applied, now what? So maybe they did their application, maybe they did their RDS, maybe they did their FSA-ID, and what's going to happen next? What can they expect? And then lastly, the college redirection pool. That's a great option for students and something that they need to understand that's available. So as they're working through what can happen after they submit their application for admissions, of course, they can be accepted, they can be denied, they can be waitlisted. And so as they're thinking through that, if you've got a student who, and I was that student, thank God I got in, I'm going to UNCW. That's where I was going to go. It's the only school I applied to, and I was positive I was going to get in. And like I said, thank God I did, because I had no backup plan. And so it's a good thing for students to know about. The college redirection pool is open each year, April 1st through August 31st. And it's an option for students to take a look who they only apply to the one school because they knew they were going to get in, or come over to you in March and say, I was supposed to do my application already. Why didn't somebody tell me? Right? So maybe they didn't hear those announcements. So it's a good option for students to see what else is out there. Okay, so as we mentioned before, we are your presenters today. We had wonderful Skip Watts kick us off. We had Amy Denton come in second, and then I'm rounding us out at the end here. And this is your CFNC outreach team with all of your regional representatives. And I do want to remind everyone also that this afternoon, I don't want to say when exactly, but sometime this afternoon, you will receive a link to do a feedback survey. We really appreciate your feedback. We really plan these things around it. The Pro Tools working session that will happen week 3, there was a lot of requests for it last year after Education Professionals Month, or last year it was a week. So we made sure we included that this year. So we really do appreciate your feedback, and we do look at it. And so once you've completed that survey, you will get your CEU certificate emailed to you and the email address that you used when you registered for this program. About 48 hours, but you won't get it over the weekend because we won't be working. So if you submit that today or tomorrow, you'll get it Monday or Tuesday, so the beginning part of next week. And we hope to see you at other programs throughout the month of September. I'm going to go ahead and close out here momentarily, just as far as stopping the recording. But as you go through and have questions, feel free to shoot them over in the chat. We'll be here for a few more minutes. Amy, Skip, Brittany, anyone, any thoughts of anything that I missed that you wanted to add in this afternoon?
I can't think of anything. I think we covered a lot of ground today.
Yes, we did cover a lot of ground. And those of you that were part of the program this past Tuesday, your CEUs will be emailed out to you today or tomorrow. So you'll have it before the weekend. We'll get those out to you. And feel free to stay and answer questions or ask questions. I'm going to go ahead and officially stop the recording, but we will be here to help. And thank you so much for attending this afternoon. We appreciate your time.